Coming into Champion Select as a jungler, you just want to think about whether your team needs more AD or more AP. You want to consider if you need more CC or more damage, and afterwards it just comes down to your own champion pool. So Champion Select plays a 50% of the game depending on the elo and depending on how balanced the teams are. So if the teams are relatively even, then the players decide the fate of the game. Especially in the lower elos, gameplay is more significant because players tend to make more mistakes. But if not, then the one with the better champions usually come out on top. Pretty much each jungle matchup has its own strength and weakness. So there's going to be certain junglers that are stronger in the early game, and then certain junglers are stronger in team fights, mid game to late game. So you just have to identify what type of style you want to play. Do you want to play the receiving end in the early game or the aggressing end in the early game? Generally, if you are an aggressive jungler, you want to ward the enemy camps to figure out when they spawn, when the enemy jungler is doing the camps. And this allows you to track them and counter gank very easily. When you're in a losing matchup, the most important thing to do is vision control. If you're behind, then you want to ward the jungle entrances. So you can use your vision wards, you can use your tracker's knife, whatever warding item that you may have, to track the enemy jungler and to counter gank or to counter pressure. You don't want to fight a stronger jungler head to head, otherwise you'll lose. A lot of common mistakes that low elo players make are identifying their mistakes, first of all. It's almost impossible to encounter a player that makes no mistakes. Even Faker, even world-class players make mistakes, even on like the second, microsecond level. So it depends on how good you are in noticing those mistakes. After that, it's really just thinking about the game with an improvement mindset, where after you make a mistake, you would want to be really hard on yourself and improve from that mistake. A few examples are map awareness. A lot of low elo players can't figure out why their map awareness is so weak, and the hardest thing to fix is constantly multitask while you're focusing on a fight or an objective or clearing, because it's really difficult to look at the map every few seconds while fighting an enemy jungler, but it's super necessary because you have to know exactly where the enemies are coming from. So to improve on your overall gameplay as a jungler, you want to make sure you're playing the right champion going into the game. And after, you have to think about how you can influence the map through your ganks and transition that to winning the game. One of the things that I want you guys to focus on in your next game is just consistency. Try to make less mistakes, try to die less, and especially in lower elos because everybody's dying a lot.